Todd made it.
I don't need it unless you want me to.
Oh, we're still a little bit early.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna.
And I did print out a bunch of these too, for all the crowd.
You mind if I take a look at one of these? Yeah, I'm trying to make up one, but.
When I first saw that, first thing I thought was, this is just probably from the insurance company, because they're worried about buying people.
Yeah. So is this what we're going to, as far as the security committee members, Karen and Cecile? So pretty much where we're going, they need to be on the committee or security team. So. Right now is when the service starts and the doors stay on, does that one stay unlocked or locked? Exactly what I would recommend. Cookies. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, we're so glad you're able to be here for it. Even though, we don't have a huge crowd here, we are recording this and broadcasting it so people can come back and witness it or, so while I was in there, I had one person sitting in Mexico said they wanted to be here. Well, that's it.
If somebody wants to reach out or have questions, they can.
Yes.
Okay.
I know, I told Kristen said she wasn't for tomorrow, and I went right to work, so y'all please come.
There you go. Okay, great.
Should you turn it up a little more?
No, do you think they need to?
I don't know.
Hello, hello. No, that's good.
Yeah, that way it'll broadcast.
My son's like. Boy and a girl.
And we have this so people online can hear?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my son's is like a dark burgundy. My daughter's is starting to turn blonde a little bit now.
We're going to use this so everybody can hear online. Otherwise, the speaker system doesn't pick up. The lights are hot. It's the angel of the Lord shining on your head. It is.
You might have to work.
I figured it out.
We'll wait to 3 just in case people do decide to show up.
Shirts after the cut, but I was running late, so I thought I better hurry.
Locked then? Oh, okay.
How did the barbecue go yesterday?
Good. Yeah.
I kind of drove by yesterday just to do like the quick, we do crime prevention through Ave North design, so I just did like a quick survey as I was driving around, everything looks good though. So.
Yeah. Yeah, they sold everything, right, Sally? 100 plates, I believe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A little over 1,000.
What?
$1,000.
$1,000. Well, we were just talking about plates. 100 plates, though, right?
That would be that plus all the extra donations.
Oh, right. Okay.
A lot of people would give 20 and just say.
Yeah.
keep the other 10.
Yeah. Here we are.
One more minute. Perfect. I took my grandkids this morning to get their first haircuts.
Really?
Barbershop.
Oh, wow. That was cool. Did they cry? That's good. I don't
2,
remember
3,
mine.
4, 5, 6.
I've
Well,
seen
6
kids
council
cry.
members, so that's good. Not including me.
Oh, really?
Why y'all sitting so far back? Come on, sit closer. That's not true. That's not true. All right, y'all, it's 3 o'clock. To honor everyone's time, I'd like to start, okay? I want to thank you so much for all of you being here. Safety is an important priority here for King of Glory, and we've worked really hard to build up a team and to come together and to reach out to Officer Keister and to have this presentation be for the whole Church of King of Glory. It is being recorded and live streamed, so we have this for future reference. What we're going to do, I'm going to open us up in prayer. Officer Keister is going to give a presentation, and then we'll be open for questions and answer time. Okay? Sound good? All right. The Lord be with you. Good and gracious God, we come before you in this beautiful land of North Myrtle Beach. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for King of Glory. Thank you for officers that protect us. Thank you for Officer Keister here as he is about to present to us safety here at King of Glory. Lord, I ask that you look over all of us so we have the right questions and the right answers in this place. I know your Holy Spirit is present, Lord, and we're forever grateful for what you bring to us and your sovereignty in this land. For it's in Jesus' name we pray all these things. Amen.
Good afternoon. I'm Joe Keister, as she says. I've been a member of this church, but it has been a while. I'm an officer with the North Myrtle Beach Police Department. I've been here about 10 years. I'm currently assigned to our Community Services Division as well as our K-9 unit. So I've got an explosives K-9, K-9 MAC. Part of my job is crime prevention. So I do a lot of different classes and speaking engagements. So I'll talk about this shortly. We do a civilian response to active shooter class. I am an instructor for that. It's about an hour-long PowerPoint that we can present at any time, whether it be in the church or if you just get up with me, I can do that. It pretty much talks about run, hide, fight. It's that simple. Different options you may have, whether it be in church or Walmart or at school or whatever it may be. I also am an instructor in our rape aggression defense systems. So for our ladies, we do a free 4 or 5 week class. We go over basic self-defense tactics. It can be any age. We've had our last class was about 20 ladies from 13 all the way up to about 85. And it can be any skill or fitness level. We can accommodate it all. But with that being said, we're here to talk about safety in our church and our schools. We have the school attached. So unfortunately, nobody likes to talk about safety anymore. Or they kind of want to put it on the back burner. Everybody has the idea that it's never going to happen here. Unfortunately, we've kind of learned that in North Myrtle Beach, our bubble is kind of starting to burst a little bit at a time. We're starting to see a little bit more crime, serious crime happen. So with that being said, we need to always have precautions in place. So with that being said, the first thing we would say is you need to have some kind of safety team or safety plan for everything, whether it be active shooter, fire alarm, missing child, whatever that may be. So if you've got, I know we've got some policies and procedures here for, I kind of looked through it for weapons and stuff like that. But as a security team, you need to make sure that you look over that, you're planning as a committee and not just one person. And we needed to start distinguishing different roles, okay? If something goes bad, we don't need everybody going straight to the shooter. Somebody needs to call 911, somebody needs to render first aid, whatever that may be. So with that, we say training is necessity. And that can be as simple as first aid. If you are going to be on the security team and you're going to be armed, you should be practicing your proficiency very well. In a very crowded area like this on a busy Sunday morning, shots and bullets are going to matter, okay? We don't want to injure or hurt the wrong people. And when we start talking about safety, we always talk about, I get a little scattered brain. We start from the outside and kind of work our way in. So we were talking just a minute ago about the, first of all, make sure all your vehicles are locked before church. Everybody knows that if you're at church, you're going to be in here for an hour. There's not really a whole lot of eyes out there, so if you leave your vehicles unlocked, you make yourself an easy target. Second of all is, once the service starts, all of the doors should be locked, except for one if you choose to do so. If you choose to keep one unlocked, it should be guarded and have somebody out there. As far as that goes, if it's a member of a security team, we should also have some kind of communication system, not just a phone, so maybe a two-way radio. So if somebody sees something out in the parking lot, they can radio in here, and then you can start your lockdown process immediately. Let's see what else we got here. So we talked about an emergency plan. The basics of an emergency plan will consist of identifying and positioning security or your safety team members in strategic locations to intercept and or stop a subject who intends to inflict harm on the church. So we kind of went over that. You have somebody at the door, it's locked, and you still have somebody there. So they're able to see any problems that may approach before it becomes like a surprise tactic. So that's already a perfect plan. Let's see here. We also talked about scripting and practicing. So once you have your emergency plan in place for everything, you should always script. So for us, it's sitting down. Whenever you go to like a domestic, if we say in our head, we're saying if this happens, we're going to do A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3 if something else happens. So if you sit down and have these round tables with your emergency plan, you can kind of go, hey, if somebody comes through the front door, these are the actions we're going to take. And then you can also put those down in practice. It doesn't have to be something you do every month. You can just do it once a year, really. Or if you don't want to practically do it, you can sit down and just do it on paper and just say, or to talk it out, if this happens, I'm going to go to the door, I'm going to call 911, whatever it may be. But just some kind of practice to keep your memory fresh. So that way, if something were to really happen, it would just be kind of automatic. You're not going to take that time. We'd always talk about denial, deliberate action in our civilian response active shooter class. So the faster you can go from denial that something bad is happening to that deliberation of how you're going to act will help save time and lives. So just kind of go with that scripting and practicing with your group. Let's see here. With your emergency plan, you also need to define the goals for each emergency and lay out the necessary steps to reach those goals. Do you have any kind of written forms or reports that you would do if something were to happen? Okay. So that's another thing. It just has situation status reports, which pretty much is creating a form for each emergency to keep members aware of what actions are needed. It's a good after-action report, too, so you can kind of see what went right and what went bad and what you can improve on. Let's see here. I talked about communication a little bit, but two-way radios is important. Updated phone numbers for, I know I just got the email, y'all just updated the phone list. And then contact for all members, staff, and volunteers, especially on that security team. For your security team, they need to be physically and mentally capable of serving and then willing to help in those tense situations. So how many members are on your security team? 5 of you? Any former military, police, fire? Okay, perfect. So that's exactly what you're going to want because they're used to dealing with that high stress levels, right? If something bad's going to happen, your heart rate, your stress level is going to go up. So to be able to, if you've got that experience or at least know how to get your breathing and stress level back down, that's going to help tremendously. You need to understand the lockdowns, lockouts, evacuations, and different medical responses, especially nothing says that it's just going to be an active shooter, right? It could be a medical emergency, but nonetheless, you still need to know how to act so we can help save lives. So just basically knowing your quickest exits, what can EMS get through certain doors is a big one, or steps, or any other hazards they may be. And then your security team should attend, or at least schedule to attend, all the services, classes, or special events. If they can't make it, at least make sure we're all on the same page so we know where our holes or lack of coverage may be. If 2 people are out because they're sick or whatever it may be, you may have to disperse your resources accordingly. We talked about training a little bit, so if you do get radios, you need to know how to work them. I know they can be a little high tech these days. Access control, I don't think you have access control here, right? No, like doors where like we have key cards that lock in and out. Okay. But I'm sure some other members have keys to the building and stuff like that. So make sure there's some kind of log of who's checking out keys if they're checked out. And then let's see here. I have basic medical training. If you're unfamiliar, especially your medical team, if you're unfamiliar how to work a tourniquet or chest compression or chest seal, something like that, Grand Strand Medical Center offers Stop the Bleed. It's a free class, and it goes over all the basic needs as far as tourniquets and chest seals and stuff like that, how to plug arteries, and it's a free class. I think it's about 3 hours. It's something I'm working to get as well, so if I can get that, I can also offer it as well. Let's see. We talked about security, and we kind of talked about video surveillance. I guess there's kind of a lack of it here. So that would be something that I would definitely recommend, at least on your exterior doors. I was talking a little bit before we started. It's been a couple years since we've had any kind of theft at the church, but it can happen. I think last time it was just a simple door that was left unsecured in the choir room, but a computer and some other information was stolen. So that's what I would say. We do have security systems here. And then I know the doors are locked pretty good. I know I've been around before. When I worked nights, I used to come around and check, and they were always pretty good. So the big thing is just making sure when we're walking out, all the doors shut behind us, making sure we pull them closed. Let's see here. We talked about radios. And then cameras. We just need to make sure if you do get a camera system, the locations need to be in good spots, and then you need to decide if you're going to do a cloud-based storage or a DVR. That would be the simplest thing. That can be based off the need, really. And security systems are really pretty cheap now. You can go to Costco and get a Wi-Fi based system, pretty simple, like 3 cameras for like $500. So depending on your needs, you could at least get the front door and then some of the other side doors. And then the last thing is just make sure your exits are known. I know we got the bright lights there, but and we got them over there too. I can't see the one in the corner, but I'm sure there's a sign over there. And I lost my name tag. Yeah, so just is there an exit through the music? So maybe just put an extra sign there, just so they kind of know. And your security team, I know everybody that goes here really knows the layout of the building. It's pretty simple. It's not very complicated like some of the other churches in the city. I know like the Presbyterian Church is the maze over there. So the layout here is pretty simple. Everybody kind of knows where the exits are anyway, so I think you're pretty safe there. And I'm just going to kind of go over this other thing I found online. And we've touched about a lot of it. It's just 10 security tips, and it's the protocol for the entrance and exit, which we already talked about. Insurance policies, make sure it's up to date, and it covers your break-ins, thefts, vandalisms, which I don't think we have a lot to deal with here. However, you never know. It could be an issue. Surveillance equipment, we talked about that. Operational security system, so test your safety system. So make sure your alarm is working. You can always call your security system and say, hey, we just want to test our system and make sure it's working while you're on the phone with them. Set it off, make sure it's actually working, whether it's safety or fire alarms. Secure online communications one. We don't really think about this, but we talk about online giving. I know I saw something out there about it. So just make sure that I'm not a computer guru by any means, but just make sure it's a secure site so that nothing can go missing or hacked in that way. We talked about emergency exits, rehearsing safety procedures. We kind of hit on that already. And then designated roles we've hit on, door policies. And then emergency vehicles, ensure ease of access for emergency vehicles at all times, especially during congregational worship, which I know that front's always left pretty open to begin with, so I don't think we have any problems there. I know I kind of talked fast. I'm a fast talker. Does anybody have any questions, comments? And I can go.
Just like to give people an overview of exactly why we decided to establish this policy or this team, because I know a lot of people thought, well, why do we need one? Well, I think you've already given us some reasons, and of course we've seen, a lot of increase in gun violence recently, but the main reason we did this was our insurance came up every 3 years. We have an insurance renewal, and our insurance went up a lot this last time. So instead of $22,000, it's $27,000. And within that, I started looking at their recommendations for security, and they actually have a policy. This is a model policy and procedure. It's not one that we've adopted, but we have looked at this one, and we've also, thank goodness that Shepherd of the Sea down in Surfside or Garden City has come up and actually given us even a more detailed policy and procedure, but we're kind of going slow right now, just in infant steps, if you want to call it that, trying to get ourselves going. But within this, there is a checklist, and we have started that checklist by forming the team, obviously, and then coming up with some rules and regulations, and then also, obviously, having someone from the police department come and give us some instruction. So I just wanted to kind of give some background on exactly why we established the team. It wasn't to try to alienate anybody or take anybody's rights away, but we felt like it was necessary to go ahead and address this before something bad happened. Somebody mentioned this to me the other day. What if there was a shooting in this church? What would happen to the church after that? Would everybody be afraid to come back? Would people come back? I mean, would the church dissolve? I mean, these are concerns that certainly I've had, and we don't ever want that to happen. Todd has been very good about being our leader and getting this going for us, and I'm very appreciative of that. And obviously, we have his Air Force training, and also Frank Sutton, who is a retired police officer from New York or New Jersey? New Jersey. And we also have another retired police officer who did safety prevention, who is going to be joining us. He's in New Mexico today, so he couldn't be with us, but we're going to have an even stronger team, and happy for anybody within our congregation that wants to come to a meeting or consider being a member. We're happy to have that. So David Patterson, yes. Oh, yeah, the team. That's right. Sorry, David. Didn't mean to ignore you. And, of course, the pastor's also there, too. So, Joe, if you open it up for questions and answers.
And while you're just talking about it, I know this security team's kind of growing in its infancy stage, but I'll always offer my support or help any way I can from a police standpoint. So as you're growing, if you need to throw ideas off somebody, please invite me. I'll come sit down with you at a round table, and we can kind of bounce different ideas off each other on how we can keep the church safe and keep everybody safe. So I know we kind of talked about, you kind of hinted at people's rights and stuff like that. So before we even get any further with questions and answers, we've had a little bit of a discussion already about who can carry in a church. Federal law actually prohibits people from carrying concealed or open carry in a church setting unless you have permission from the pastor or the church members. So it doesn't specify written or verbal that I understand, but if you're going to carry concealed, you should at least be part of the security team, in my opinion, and you should be going through at least semi-annual handgun safety and or training. Like we said, these are small environments, so we don't want to hurt the wrong people, so proficiency is important when we talk about that. So we'll just kind of get that out of the way to begin with. But I'll open it up. Anybody have any questions, concerns?
If as a police officer, it was you were a first responder, let's say, you would come in, and if someone within the congregation had a weapon, a gun, I mean, how would you know whether they were the perpetrator or somebody that was there, as a positive influence?
Yeah, that's a great question. We go over this in our active shooter class that we teach, but if something bad were to happen here, you engage the shooter. I always instruct people, somebody first of all needs to call 911, okay? The average response time for law enforcement for an active shooter nationwide, the average response time is 3 minutes, but that doesn't start until the time of the phone call. Luckily here we have smaller response time, so I'm sure it'll be quicker. But somebody needs to call 911. If you are a shooter, we need to designate or tell our dispatch what you are wearing and that you are armed, okay? That way we know ahead of time kind of what we're looking for. If the threat has been neutralized, I would say stand within a couple of feet. And if you're confident there's no other threats, place the weapon at your feet. That way when we come in, we don't mistake you for the wrong person because you have a gun in your hand. Your tension's going to be high. As law enforcement, our tension and stress is going to be high too. So obviously we don't want the wrong person, but the first and foremost is making sure that somebody knows you are armed. You could even go as far as I'd have to look in the state, but maybe like a security badge or something like that. That way, if something bad were to happen, you could pull it out, and we would know kind of when we came in that you were armed or security in some form or another. I know, like I said, Presbyterian at 6 South, they've got a whole huge team, and it's a whole thing. But I can't remember if they wear certain shirts or if they have badges or what it was. But first and foremost, call our dispatch, let us know that you're armed, the threat's been neutralized, and that there are concealed carry members in the congregation. That way we kind of know going in. Any other questions?
I feel like I'm monopolizing things. Part of our team, and we decided not to call ourselves a security team. We decided to call ourselves a safety team. So the first step that we actually did was have the CPR training, and several of us here have been through that. Thank you for the fire department here. They did an excellent job. It actually was kind of fun, to be honest with you. But in the process of that, we talked about the AED, which is the automated external defibrillator. So that's the thing that if you were watching the football game where the the gentleman got hit in the chest and his heart stopped, well, they had to use that to shock him to get him back to life. And the AED is number one, is stored out in the narthex. It's in the very corner where the coat rack is and where you see the basket, the basket for groceries or bags of blessing. And additionally, in looking at that, there's a battery check and a check off that we've been looking at. And of course, what happened, but right before our training, we realized it was expired. In today's world, everything's on back order. Well, guess what? The replacement product is on back order also. So we have, as soon as we did our training, we went ahead and made our order. So we've been charged for it, but we haven't gotten it back yet. But we have been told that these will work. And, been in the pharmacy business for over 50 years. And oftentimes we have drugs and things that expire, but they're actually good to an extended period. So, the thing will still work, but it is a little concerning if you went to open it up and said, well, this thing's expired. Does it work? Yes, it will work. So I just want everybody to know where that was, and the thing will tell you what to do. That's what's wonderful about it.
Yeah, ADs are great. Like I said, they literally will tell you what to do and how to do it, and it's a great training tool to have. The fire department's great. If you have any other training, or if you want training with the police department, we can kind of go over some different topics. But yeah, any other? I would definitely, your safety team, definitely continue your CPR certification. Maybe look into this free one at Grand Strand. I think McLeod might offer it as well. It's Stop the Bleed. You can just Google it and it'll pop right up. Oh yeah, perfect. So a lot of times when I get to some medical calls, I have medical retired nurses already on scene. I let them. They've got way more knowledge than I do, right? I got the basics, so if they've got that training already, I let them do their thing, and I'll hold security all day long. Just remember, I'm kind of going to this other class, but if an emergency were to happen here, we are not going to be treating anybody that's injured right away, okay? Our first step's to stop the threat and make sure that threat is neutralized, make sure there's not a second shooter, and then we will go into helping with any medical training. I know if you've called, how many of you called Horry County EMS before? Anybody? Their response times can vary depending on where they're coming from. We've got Medic 32 right by the police department, Medic 7's down at Tanger, and I forget the one in Little River. But depending on if North Myrtle Beach's medic unit's busy, it might be a minute before anybody gets here. Especially if there's some kind of mass casualty event in the city, they're not going to stage directly right here. That's going to be down the road. So it's going to be a lot of planning and coordinating on our level. So just kind of keep that in mind. So medical training, however basic, can help save lives because it's not going to be emergent. The best thing I might do if I'm coming in is throw a tourniquet to you, and that's really about it. So at least right away. So that basic knowledge can help save lives. So that, like I said, training, it doesn't have to be medical training, doesn't have to be active shooter training, but just continue training in different aspects of different things because you never know what's going to happen, whether it's here or at Walmart or wherever it may be. I can say positively, I don't know of any active shooter, at least in Horry County. The only one I can think of is the one in Charleston, and that was in 2015, I believe. So when we talk, we can briefly talk about that, but when we talk about that is whenever you're having events at the church, we always welcome new members or new people, right? So just be cognizant of who's coming in, what they're dressed like, what they're bringing with them. I know when we had the theft here, it was a homeless individual that we invited in, and he kind of got the layout of the church, and I don't know if he knew that door was unlocked or what it was, but just be kind of cognizant of who we're letting in. We all know each other pretty well. We want new members to join, right? We want people to come worship with us, but just always be cognizant of who's coming, especially what they're wearing and what they're bringing with them. If it's a hot day in the summertime and they're in sweatshirts or a heavy jacket, to me, a backpack, So backpack, yeah. So I'm an explosive K9 handler, right? So all that stuff to me is like, everybody carries a backpack these days, but I'm always like, man, what could be in that bag? Because I go over, I think you can fit 5 pounds of explosives in a backpack pretty easy. That can do pretty good damage. So actually, it's more than 5 pounds. I have my standoff card in the car, but just be kind of cognizant of who's here, what they're wearing, what they're bringing with them. Obviously, if it's a homeless person, we don't want them to carry all their stuff. We want them to come worship with us, but we don't need all their stuff to come in here with them, right? They can kind of leave it outside. So, any other questions?
Does your department have an emergency plan for, like, if you have to have a lockdown? Is there a set plan that your department has to set up a lockdown? If they have a lockdown in school, would that affect our church and our schools?
So if the Ocean Drive Elementary had a lockdown, we would probably have an officer come talk to you and say, hey, the school's locked down for whatever reason. We need to lock yours down. That should happen. Whether it's in writing or not, I'm not sure. I'd have to double check. Just because we have so many small schools between here, Holy Trinity, and some of the other schools. But yeah, if we see them on the playground or something, we're definitely going to tell everybody to go inside. I know the school here is really great. My kids went here, so I know the facility is pretty tight as far as trying to get in and out. But yeah, locking down or locking out, we should at least tell you and say, hey, this is happening. Most of the events where that would happen for us is going to be at nighttime, so it's probably going to be vacant anyway. If somebody was running from the police or something like that. But if they had some kind of threat, we would definitely come let you know. So, because we may start bringing them here to evacuate, or the other churches down the road. So, depends if it's a lockout, lockdown, what it may be. But we would definitely relay that information, because the last thing we want to do is put other kids in harm's way dealing with other people. You had a question over here?
I know the safety team is certainly thinking through all of these things, and I know they're already doing this, but to acknowledge out loud that we do have 3 other buildings. It's not just this building. That's right. And there are a lot of children here all week long.
Yep.
And so I know that the safety team is thinking through, preparedness for whatever.
Yeah, so we. Yes. So it can be challenging, right? When you've got, I know in the summertime you do, you got your, yep, because y'all just still do after school on top of the, so, and it can be challenging because you do have the multiple buildings, right? So something could happen in one building and the other 2 could be completely oblivious. So that could be the same thing where simple radio, I don't know if they have radios or any kind of communication other than their cell phones. So maybe just some basic radios, because cell phones, as we know, especially in some kind of chaotic scene, are not going to be the most reliable. But at least a 2-way radio, they can say, hey, we're locking. If we come here and say, hey, we need to lock you down, we can tell the first building, they can just go ahead and tell the other 2, where we're not having to run back and forth as law enforcement running back and forth, or your own members or teachers running back and forth. So those simple 2-way radios, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can just be the little Walmart ones. You're all on the same channel. Could be easy tools to have that would save everybody time and keep them safe. Because the last thing I said we want to have going on is running back and forth if there's some kind of safety concern. Anybody else? No? All right. Well, I appreciate you letting me come. I'll stick around if you have questions. If anybody's online or elsewise, I left my card here. By all means, please call me or email me. And I offer my services again to your team, your safety team. If you ever want to bounce ideas off each other or kind of go over things, I'll be more than happy to. Right.
Thank you so much. Can we clap? Woo-hoo!
I appreciate you again. It's good to come out here.
Yeah. Thank you. Come back to worship. We'd love to see you.